Hello, everyone. Apparently, we are streaming. Even though the page is still loading, it says we have been streaming for 1 minute. So, how wonderful is that? And so today's spiritual revolution, and we're going to be talking about face reading. And sorry about my looks, but I've been swimming in the pool, so that's why I look the way I look. What can I say? Living in Acapulco. Another advertisement for living in Acapulco. But yes, so welcome everybody. I'm really glad you've all joined me here. And today I want to talk about fire and fire when it comes to face reading. So what do you guys think that means? Face reading and fire. Like how do you have any association already? Like because that's kind of green language. So
maybe like if they're blushing or how red their face is, maybe when they get excited and it turns red or something.
maybe. So when does it turn red?
When your breath is held, like when you're like you kind of have to make a clenching up here somewhere and it kind of holds the blood up into your head, or maybe when you squint your face up like this or something.
And isn't your breath like your fire? Like your form of expression, like the burning that you offer to the world? That's how you express. That's how you say, when you have an important truth to share with somebody, you would express it through your mouth, right? And so similarly to when we're embarrassed and we withhold, we're like, oh my gosh, right? And we're withholding what we want to say because so as not to seem stupid or whatever. We turn red because we're pushing down the fire and the fire comes up in our fire. Like, you know what I mean? It's not expressed, it's withheld, or it comes up for us. That can happen on a permanent basis too. There are different things like psoriasis and acne rosacea and different other ways that your skin can become permanently red in certain spots, and then the interpretation of that really depends on where it is, right? Like, is it your forehead or is it your cheek or is it your chest? You know what I mean? And then judging or using the chakra system, we would determine what part of the overall body's expression it actually governs and signifies.
When a number of years ago, I was professional alcoholic for like a good 5 years or so, and I had like permanent red all around here and red all around here, and it just didn't go away like at all. Even if it had been like 4 days since I drank, it would still be red all the time like that.
So why did you drink?
It depends if you're asking the me that was there then or the me that's here now, because I guess that'd be two different answers. But
I'm talking about the deepest answer to that specific question.
Probably because, I mean, there's self-annihilation. That's always fun. There's that angle. But I mean, that's not maybe the deepest angle. Like, also probably just because life wasn't very satisfying. Like,
why was life?
It was like unbearably not using my talents or abilities in any way.
And why weren't you using your talents and abilities?
I guess because I didn't think it was possible to do so. It seemed like it was blocking in every avenue, kind of, and everything was, that whole thing about how banks destroy finances and psychologists destroy mental health and all that. Well, I realized that all at a very young age, and so like there wasn't even any point at which I even really did much career planning, because every time I would even talk to someone about a career, they'd be like, well, yeah, you can be a psychiatrist, but you can't like talk to them about right and wrong. You can't mention like morality to them. And I was like, well, that's the whole, they're suffering because they do wrong things. So it's not going to work.
Right.
And then, it was all the various things were like that. Like you could do computers, but you're just going to make like spy stuff or whatever,
So so let's check this out. So your essence, let's see if I understand this correctly. Your essence wanted to express itself in certain ways, but every avenue that you went down, you were pushed down, right? So your fire was pushed. Yeah. Your fire was pushed down and it came up in your face because there was too much fire inside you. And you weren't allowing yourself to express yourself at the level that you needed to express.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense, especially given that a large part of the core of it emotionally was like suppressed rage and stuff. So
you think that alcohol caused the redness in your face, and I pose that stifling yourself caused the redness in your face. And I can sort of prove it. Does every alcoholic have the same pattern of redness in their face?
I don't actually know. I don't know if that's a thing. The nose seems to get red a lot.
Yeah, that's an actual side effect, right? But also, if you think about it, what is the nose? And face reading the nose is your ego and identity and how you stand up for yourself in the world, right? When you're an alcoholic, you probably would have some pent up emotions about how you stand up for yourself in the world, because when you get the label alcoholic, you're no longer dealing very well. Like, you could be having a drink or two and it would be nice, but once you become an alcoholic, it interferes with your normal functioning, right?
Yeah,
And
there's
so,
not a lot of social interaction in general after a while, because it's embarrassing and shameful to even be seen out in front of people. And because every time you think about doing any kind of social thing, you're like, yeah, but then I had to be sober for that, so I don't want to do that.
right. And I'm only going to hang out with the friends that drink, because the friends that don't drink would never understand me. And it's just a waste of time trying to become one of them when I'm not one of them. Right.
Yeah, everyone else would sort of put a damper on your party, as it were, but it's sort of the opposite of that. They're actually having more fun and doing better things, but it doesn't seem like it at the time.
But not necessarily. I mean, sometimes they might be doing better things and sometimes they may not be. But let's go back to the redness. So the redness, where was the redness exactly in your face?
Just from memory, but I would say I think around here, a bit, and mostly here,
So
and the
in
cheeks,
your
like
eyebrows,
around
would
the
you
cheeks.
say? Around your eyebrows?
Yeah, like in the middle-y part up here. And then I would say most of it, though, is probably like the nose and then the cheeks a lot. The cheeks are really red.
Okay, so let's interpret that. So the eyebrows are the throat chakra, so it's how you express yourself and what you say. And then when you get to a little bit above the eyebrows, that's your memory part of your forehead, right? So it has to do with, maybe living in the past a little bit or looking behind you a little bit and stifling your fire, right? And then we go down to the nose, so that's ego, your identity, how you stand up in the world. So that's solar plexus. And then it went in the cheeks. Now, let me see your cheeks. Can you say something?
Saying something.
Okay, so I see that you have nice, that's okay. I see that you have nice, well-fleshed, nurturing cheeks. So like myself, so those are nurturing cheeks. So what that means is that you like to take care of others. You like to maybe make an extra sandwich for a friend, or, it brings you pleasure to like just be a little bit nice, like not nice, but nurturing to other people, right? Versus the other type of cheek, the two common types, and there are, gradations of them all. But the two common types is one is the solar plexus cheeks, where your cheeks are chiseled. And usually that comes for somebody who is very career oriented, very success oriented, very determined, knows what they're doing. Well, determination is the chin, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's a much more directive, right? Versus the people who like to nurture, they may not want to be moving fast and up like those other people, but they might enjoy other activities, but more than chasing after climbing ladders or whatever. And so okay, so there was, and this is your heart chakra right here as well, especially when you have the nurturing cheeks, because the line kind of moves depending on the cheek type. But this is your heart chakra. So that means, what does that mean? So what's the heart? The heart is the center of balance, right? There are 3 chakras above and 3 chakras below the heart. So the heart is your absolute center of your body from top to bottom, right? And it's also the avenue of expression. Your arms are seated in mostly, well, sort of, there's throat chakra and heart chakra here. So your arms are a combination of your throat and your heart chakra used in expression, right? So if you think about that in relation to your situation where you were in dead-end jobs and you didn't know how to deal with it, and every time you tried to do something you were stifled, right? And that redness, the anger, the resistance, no, I'm not going to be like this, let me out of this hole, right? That kind of energy came up to your face, and in those places, thinking backwards, thinking memories, thinking back to the way things were, your hopes, your dreams that were dashed and stifled, affecting your personal expression through the eyebrows. your ego and solar plexus and how you come up with the world, and then your heart chakra, you know, the sorrow that you can't express who you really are.
Yeah, so already checks out. Yeah, that sounds all pretty accurate. I mean, it makes sense with the the suppression of the thing is that there's like almost like two levels where there's like your surface level of emotion and then the underneath level. And
Hang on
so
a
a lot
second.
of those.
James, I think that there's some background crackling. I'm just going to mute you, okay? But that doesn't mean I don't want you to talk. Yeah, that was definitely his crackling. I don't know why.
Yeah, like maybe the refrigerator or something.
No,
yeah,
it sounded like his mic wasn't plugged in all the way. That's my professional assessment.
Oh, I think you got it right there.
Anyway,
yeah, so there's a like, I guess because I wasn't aware at the time of any hopes and dreams or any feeling of like, being stifled or kept inside, because it just didn't feel like I didn't have any, or there was no path forward. It didn't feel like, oh, I want to go and do and be things, and it didn't feel anything like that.
But that's because you felt like every path that you stepped on would crumble under your feet, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I kind of relate to that a little bit as a child. I was like, oh, I want to be I want to be an actress. No, you can't sing. You can't be an actress. Oh, I want to do this. No, you can't, because you have this flaw or that flaw. And it was almost like every door that I tried to open would be like shut in front of me. And there was a very narrow path, and the path was not pleasing to me. And, it was basically all about making my dad happy, kind of. So, But does anybody else have any questions about redness in the face or redness in the body or anything? And we can interpret how that relates to fire of emotion, fire of spirit.
Does it have to be redness? Can it just be like that fire feeling? Like
it could be the fire feeling. It could also be dryness, because unexpressed fire causes dryness, sometimes dryness of skin. And so you can see, the interesting thing is when there are rashes or dryness or whatever in the body, there often where that the border between the two chakras is, like, for example, the throat chakra and the heart chakra, right? There's a line, and then the rash will go basically above or below the line. You can almost map out the chakras sometimes using people's rashes, which I found very surprising after seeing many different bodies. So it'll be just in the solar plexus or just in the solar plexus and heart, but there's a definite line above the sacral, exactly where you would do it on the diagram. Very interesting.
So are you saying that a person that's very passionate demonstrates that in their solar plexus?
Well, no, I mean, passion is expressed everywhere. I personally would associate passion with the heart, because there was an interesting interpretation about how the chakras work from when I was in a Hermetic study group. And I kind of liked it. Like, I understand that the Kundalini goes up and down, and the shaft of light goes up and down, and the chakras in order are like root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown, right? In that order. But the Hermetics said, sorry. So when I was in this Hermetic study group, what the leader said is that every idea starts in the heart, and then it goes down to the solar plexus, and then goes up to the throat, and then it goes down to the sacral for the creation phase, and then it goes up to the third eye for the intuitive phase to double check it, you know what I mean? And then it goes down to the root chakra for the actual manifestation, physical manifestation of it, like the basics of it. And then goes to the crown when it's a completed project, maybe glory to God or something. But it was a very interesting interpretation of how the chakras work together and how the energy flows through the chakras, not in the traditional up and down way, but an actual spiral. So, and I don't know. I don't know if your passion is necessary. I'm sure that passion may be associated with a specific chakra. I know that solar plexus is fire, and so that's a fire, like, chakra associated with the element of fire. But I mean, yeah, you need your solar plexus to express your passion, but it's not all about the solar plexus, I don't think.
What about what about when you see like fire in people's eyes, where there's like an extra energy, or they seem
Like
like they're
the
really
shiny
animate?
eyes thing where their eyes almost glow kind of because they're so passionate about something. That would
Yeah.
be passion expressed. Because the redness that we were talking about in the face or in the body, in rashes or the dryness, that the fire would dry out the skin and then it would be dry and flaky. That all of that has to do with unexpressed, stifled emotion, stifled expression, stifled self. I suppose that's adequate.
So is it suggested that they're energy centers?
What do you mean, the chakras?
Yes,
Yeah, the chakras are energy centered.
and that they yeah. Pardon me. I have a basic understanding visually of it, but I have no experience with it. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, no worries. Ask any questions you want. Go ahead.
So what would you say as from because I just had this conversation, and it's interesting how, I mean, energy. It seems like energy balance, any kind of, and I guess that simple balance through, and so what this, I guess it's related to how it affects our being, or like if we're off balance or in balance, it's a good way of checking that. Put it, a way of
So
keeping those in check.
The first thing that I found, people who were sort of beginners or maybe even a little skeptical, I'm thinking of Eric at this point, when they played with the pendulum in relation to chakras, they actually realized, like you can see when you have a pendulum, like, so there's a little chakra inside your hand. It's not one of the major 7 chakras in your body or whatever, but there is a little chakra in your hand, and if you hold the pendulum above it, it will spin. Because this energy center, it's like it's energy that spins. That's what the essence of chakra is. It's essentially like Dharma wheel or Karlovrot or swastika. It's the continual movement of energy in those centers, and each center represents a different level of consciousness. It actually also, in a weird way, correlates with Maslow's pyramid of human needs. The root chakra, red, being the base, it has to do with safety, security, having a roof over your head. When your root chakra is in danger, it's hard to think about anything else because it's your base, and that's in your bum, around your tailbone. Your tailbone would be like the center of it, right? And then the sacral is the next chakra up. Oh, and the root chakra is earth, right? So it's grounding. It's the basis of your being. And the next one is sacral, and sacral is orange, and sacral is water, and it's the water of creation. It's sex, it's creativity, it's painting and drawing and music. All of those expressions of the human spirit, they come from the sacral. They're birthed from the sacral. Notice the sacral is also where the womb is. So a human would be born in the sacral just as much as an idea, right? And different energies, kind of like the masculine and the feminine, kind of play together in the magic of creation in the sacral chakra. And so the next one up is your solar plexus. That starts about your waistline, where you bend, where your body bends. That's where it kind of starts, and it ends just before your heart, sort of where the bra strap would be on a woman. Just below the boobs, kind of thing. And so that's your solar plexus, and that has to do with basically how you stand up for yourself in the world. It's yellow, it's fire, it's taking your space in the world and standing up for who you are. And that's exactly what Don, maybe you missed some of that, James, but Don was talking about how when he was younger, he felt stifled, and he liked alcohol to dull the pain of being stifled, but then he had these red patches on his face, and he perceived that it was from the alcohol. When we actually analyzed the pattern of the patches, it seemed like it was more reflective of his life, like stifling, heart hurt, thinking back, memories, you know what I mean? All of these elements that were there. And then I posed that not every alcoholic has the same red patches. Like they might have red patches on their face, but they all have a different configuration of them, which I think reflects, well, in psychosomatic therapy, we believe it reflects where they came from or what the issue is, you know what I mean? Okay, I was going through the chakras. Yeah, so,
Oh, sorry.
hang on, go ahead. You have a question?
That's why I say I'm allergic to alcohol. I break out in handcuffs.
In handcuffs? Yeah, I've heard of that allergy. It's somewhat common. But when we can analyze why you're allergic to alcohol, we could go deeper there, but maybe not today. Okay, so the next chakra right after that, after the solar plexus, which is how you stand up in the world, alcoholism, I would have to do with solar plexus. If you think about a lot of the organs that have to do with alcoholism are located in the solar plexus area of your body,
And
right?
you get a beer belly.
And you get a beer belly, right? And the beer belly is a little bit high. It's not the because the lower belly, it's always about creation. Maybe you have a book or an idea or something in your body, right? But the higher belly, it's about stepping, basically any kind of belly is about putting a layer of fat so you desensitize something that hurts. So something hurts, and then you cover it up with fat, and then it doesn't hurt so much anymore. And then there may be another hurt on top of that, and then you can put another layer of fat. So essentially, the really fat people are people who are so sensitive that they need to put themselves in a bubble in order to exist in the world. A lot of them may be psychic or really sensitive to some psychic energies, and the fat will dull those senses. So
That's covered really well on a website called aces2high.com. ACE is like the playing card. There's a thing called the ACE, the Adverse Childhood Experience score that people can get, and it came from this place where it was basically like a fat camp for adults. Then they would, it was like a crash course, like you live there with them and they really control you would have like, I think you get like 300 calories a day, like you get all your nutrients, but almost no food at all. And it was like all liquid or something. And they would keep you there for a long time. And they found out people would lose like 300, 400 pounds. And then come the next year, they would have like another 200 packed on because the same issue, because it was there for a reason. It was doing a purpose. And so if you just take away if someone's taking Sudafed for something, you just take away the Sudafed, they're going to get sick again because you never cured the underlying issue in the first place.
yeah,
Like, that thing was
exactly.
there for a reason.
And
You took it
imagine
away.
imagine someone who's wearing armor because they need to protect themselves from constant like attacks. Say it's like a pellet gun, and then you take that armor off and suddenly they're naked against the pellet gun, and how much that would hurt. You know what I mean? Like even whether it's internal or external. I mean, some people say it's external, people's thoughts, emotions, whatever, maybe psychic powers, whatever, but it could be internal, like adverse childhood experiences, the memories of the suffering, that being and unable to relate with the world because of the suffering, the past suffering.
Yeah, it works in a similar way. It doesn't make sense to me at first until I understood, the different, say, like the 7 Hermetic principles, right? You get the as above, so below, and then the law of the planes. So like whatever happens to the mind is happening to the body too. So you're only putting extra layers on around the belly area because you've put on extra layers of like obfuscations in your mind. And that's why one of the things that people see with fat loss is that the fat cells are actually storing toxins. And so if you just destroy the fat cells, you just dump a bunch of toxins into the body, and the body doesn't want that. So it'll actually start to fight your destroying of the fat cells, and you'll have to get a war of attrition going on with your body basically to try to lose any more weight, because you have toxins like mentally that have created physical toxins, or maybe are represented by, or could be vice versa for all I know. But either way, those two things happen simultaneously. And so you got both those things going on, you can't get rid of one.
What if the toxins are not just physical toxins, but also emotional toxins?
Right.
Like
emotional, mental, physical,
feelings.
Spiritual toxin. It's, all those layers are operating simultaneously. And so you can't get rid of one without the others. And so if you're holding on to these mental ideas, it's going to be very difficult to get rid of those toxins. And the body is going to try to hold on to the fat cells that are storing those toxins. So like, it's not just a matter of,
And as a matter of fact, when you change your mind, your body will release the fat pretty much instantly.
Right.
It's not an issue. It's just as long as that mindset holds the body in that shape, then that's how it works, right? For that person at that time.
One of the saving graces of being a human being is that you have at least 2 bodies that you can operate things on, mentally or physically. So if you can't get past an obstacle mentally, maybe you can get past it physically, or vice versa. Like if you got some kind of a physical problem in your body, you don't know how to physically fix it, maybe you can do some mental work of a related type that'll fix it or something.
Totally. So we were going through the chakras. So, okay, so we got to the heart chakra. Okay, the heart chakra. is above the solar plexus, and the heart chakra is the point of balance. It's the middle of all the chakras. There are 7, right? So it's the center one. And the heart chakra, it's either green or pink, and it has to do with yourself, who you really are, your true essence. And a lot of people armor that the heart chakra quite a bit because it's really easy to get hurt in the heart, and that can happen from parents and friends and all these different situations. So a lot of people, like a lot of men, will put really hard muscles on top of their heart chakra to just like armor themselves up against so possible hurts. That's right, or fat. Yeah. So but the heart chakra is key. The heart chakra is where your inner child lives, and where you can really connect with your true essence. So it's really important. But as above, so below. Above the heart chakra is the throat chakra, which has to do with expression. And your hands, you can express yourself with your hands. You can build things, you can make things, or you can express yourself with your throat. You can speak things, you can speak them into creation, you can write them, you can play music,
Hey, Agnieszka, may I show you a diagram? This is related to what you were mentioning earlier, like spirals.
Okay, cool. But you have to talk while you're doing it.
So here is the spiral from like the sacral, right? And then also, and this is like inputs from heaven and inputs from earth, okay? This is from Daniel Reed's Guarding the Three Treasures.
Nice.
Essence, energy, and spirit. So that's Chinese traditional medicine. And then further in, they talk about the 5-element theory. He talks about the 5-element theory and how the fire energy is in the heart, the yin organ.
You're gonna have to keep that book and read that again in Adam's show in an hour or 20 minutes. Because it's gonna be another talk about fire following this one from Adam James. I have no idea what to expect, but I made this one about fire in honor of Adam because he's cool. Okay, well, that's 2 chakras. I'll just go over it and then I'll take more questions. So after the throat chakra, which is your expression, there we have the third eye, which I think of it as more your intuition. And I realized that intuition, like this, the third eye chakra really needs to collaborate with the sacral in order for the intuition to be full spectrum. And this is something that I don't know. Not everybody, some people say it has nothing to do with the sacral, but personally, I just have a really strong intuitive feeling that there is no intuition from the head. It has to come from the earth. You know what I mean? Like uniting the 2 energies, the white light and the silver, you know what I mean? That bringing it together, or the golden and the silver, whatever it is. I think that's very important. And then we have the crown chakra, which is basically our connection to the divine, the upstairs, as opposed to the downstairs divine, the earthly realm. Any questions?
Agnieszka, I have a question about what you were talking about earlier about this chart with the spiral and the chakras.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you could maybe send that to me on Discord or something? I'm really curious about how that would map onto the tree of life, right? The Kabbalistic tree of life, and how there's sort of the lightning bolt that comes out from Keter and goes all the way down to Mahut, and then there's like, you're saying that this thing, the chart you were talking about started in the heart chakra and then went sort of in a spiral pattern around, and I wonder if those would map onto the tree of life in sort of that zigzag.
I don't have a drawing on that, Don. I just have because we didn't like, it was just a guy coming to do lectures every week for the seminar. So we didn't really have any handouts or whatever. It's just notes. So you just have to draw it out yourself and see what it feels like.
Okay. So that's a note for me for the future. Bring handouts.
But all the knowledge is already inside you. So however that spiral go, maybe it goes this way or that way. You know what I mean? Like maybe it works differently for different people.
Would you say fire would be related to breathing? Because I remember hearing something about dragon breath. I was experimenting with the Wim Hof breathing
Mhm.
And I had an experience with it. I was going into cold water, and I was doing some yoga and stuff. So I saw it somewhere else, and I was just like mishmashing my own stuff. But I, just as you say, intuitively, I had the feeling that fire and breath, there's a relation.
I think there is, yeah. I think that the spirit, like, you know, inspiration comes from the spirit, and you know that all has to do with the fire of creation, and our breath is the essence. But it's not fire in the literal sense, obviously, but it's the fire of who we are, I think. Am I an expert though? I'm not sure. I just know some stuff.
When you talk about breathing, I've been very interested in breathing for many years, decades even. And there was a book I had, I can't remember the name of the author, but he described his time as a monk in Tibet. And so they were doing breathing exercises, and they changed their breathing. So they had like a repetitious cycle of holding the breath for a certain period of time. And so what was happening was that the body switched. And so each cell was breathing. And so each cell in the body was generating a small amount of heat. And so it became very easy to be warm in any environment. And so that was sometimes tested by putting wet clothes, like water, saturated water, on these monks. And through that breathing exercise, they could heat their bodies so that they steamed that water out of the clothes.
You
I
don't
never
need
saw
a,
that.
you don't need a laundry dryer then, hey? Just need a monk. Maybe I should upgrade my plan of finding an urchin to finding a monk. Michael doesn't like when I talk about finding an urchin. I just think it would be such a good symbiotic relationship. I could teach them things, make them a real subversive. Anyway, moving on. So, do you guys have any other questions?
What about when somebody's ears, the tips of their ears turn red?
Well, so where are the ears? Depends where they are, right? So the face is divided into several zones. We have the mental zone, we have the emotional zone, and we have the physical zone, right? So, and people's ears are in different places. Some people's ears are really low, so they never even touch the mental zone. Those people are very sort of down to earth, practical, you know. And then some people's ears never even touch the physical. They're all like living in their head, scientists, you know, crazy professors in the tower somewhere. And so when the tips of your ear gets red, then look where it is in your face, right?
Oh, okay.
Do you guys have any other rash questions? Rash questions. I like talking about rashes, especially when it has to do with fire. That's it. Everybody's just going to stare at me. Oh, hi, Michael.
Hello. I don't, how might this be useful in regard to just looking at people on the daily basis now with the circumstances that people are finding themselves with, a lot of people wearing masks? Is there anything that you can like cue in on as far as what people's attitude towards that kind of thing is? Like as far as their facial
I think
expression
that if
that you
people
can
are
see?
into wearing masks, they will be wearing a mask. And when they're not, they won't. I'm just joking. I don't know. I mean, there are so many different things that you can look for, but with the wearing mask, it's a very specific thing. I think that what's written on the face is more like attitudes, right? So the different colors or the different, like, you know how they say, your grandma said, oh, your face will stay that way. She was right, because if you have a habitual, like, okay, say somebody is condescending, right? Condescending is like this, right? And so this person may be condescending for a day, condescending for 2 days, 3 days. And then, like, you know, next thing you know, they're 60-year-old and they're like this.
Mhm.
And their face just sticks that way, right? It becomes a condescending face. It's not, a nice face. It's just a, you know what I mean? But that person can release those muscles, release those habitual patterns, think about some different things, focus on growing some roses or something, and maybe massage that out a little bit. There's a lot of tension on my face. Agnieszka, what have you been doing? But yeah, massage that out and then return to a face that's, that's closer to when they were a child. Not necessarily because it's younger, but because it doesn't have these tics.
Isn't that called the resting bitch face? Where you
I
have
think
this.
the resting bitch face is different. I equate that more like when you're stoned and you just, right, where the muscles are all slack. But it depends when if your muscles are slack because you have no interest, because you've vacated your body, because you're somewhere in the mental realm and you're not really present, or are your muscles slack because, you know what I mean? There are all these different ways of the muscles could just be like, but most people keep their face in an expression most of the time, 90% of the time. If you're walking on the street, people will have an expression. It's not going to be like this, right? They're going to have an expression. They're going to be happy or sad or. This world's going to shit.
That's very interesting.
You have to watch out what you're thinking.
It's a bunch of bullshit, God damn it.
Yeah, but notice like those guys, they speak out of one side of their mouth, right? And it's usually the right side, because the left side, it's the feeling side, right? And their feelings are hurt, so they don't want to talk about it. So they kind of close their mouth on the one side, and they talk about the intellectual and analytical side because they don't want to talk about feelings.
I bartended for years.
Oh, you're muted. You're muted. You accidentally hit the space bar.
I worked in bars for years. So like you needed room for a cigarette and the other side of your mouth to say, go fuck yourself. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Part of my language. Don't mean to be rude, just joking.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I was just kind of spaced out for a second. I'm like, okay, cool, but now what?
So with mask wearing, people are focusing on eyes more because they're not getting the information from the other parts of the face, the mouth, the smile, or the grin, or the grimace, or whatever, tightness or relaxed tension. So are you able to give us some techniques or something we can do if we're focusing on the eyes as we're talking to somebody? Can we read something there?
Well, I mean, it's kind of all like green language. Every child would understand it on a subconscious level. Like if somebody doesn't want you to see inside them, they would like do this, or, well, this is more like condescending, and, this could mean self-doubt. But this generally, like if you're pushing your eyes closed, that just means that you're not trusting the environment. You're feeling threatened. Right? Especially if somebody lies to you, they'll close their eyes while they're talking and open it after. It's definitely tell.
I have another question then. Would you is it possible that wearing eyeglasses is going to have an effect on the person's health? Just the thing of wearing glasses, reading glasses often or all the time. Is that something that happens? Like that?
Well, I think that a more interesting question would be, why did their eyes stop working properly to begin with? Right? Like, so why are you wearing glasses?
Well,
Like, what don't you want to see? Right? What is it that you're hiding, or that you're hiding from yourself? Just like people, when people go deaf too, they don't want to hear something and their body shuts down the auditory function because they don't want to hear it. Right? Maybe there's too much bullshit around. When a person is a child, a small child, and there's too much bullshit around, their ears sometimes won't grow. They'll be tiny, and you'll see this 6-foot man with tiny 6-year-old's ears on the side of the head. Or if the situation was really, really dangerous in the house and they felt threatened and somebody would yell a lot and be like really aggressive, often their ears will go really, really big, right? Because they want to be able to catch every nuance, and that's often a pattern. It's not necessarily, I mean, there could be other reasons too, but that's a very common reason for these things. Lee, you're muted.
I was just saying that's great information. Thank you, and interesting.
Mhm. Looking at people's ears is very interesting. There's also like a timeline thing goes on the outside with like major events etched in there. You can see.
So are you able to, or have you ever had the experience of looking at photos of yourself and you can see different things happening with the physiognomy of your
Yeah.
face through time?
Especially when you do face splits. A face split is when you take a picture straight on and then you cut it in half and put 2 right sides together and 2 left sides together. There's a lot that can be learned, and it changes every year or every 6 months. Even taking a course like autonomy, you could totally change your face. A bonus. Richard didn't know when he was creating it, but he should be taking before and after photos. Hey, Richard, did you hear me?
I did. You should be taking before after photos. You came up with that idea.
I have to do everything because I come up with so many
That's
ideas.
part of the responsibility the universe gave you, apparently. You can handle it.
Yeah, well, from now on, we require every new autonomy person to take a before picture.
It sounds like you need an apprentice or an intern to help you with those pictures. That could be the next step.
Maybe. I got some apprentices for the other groups, so I'm feeling happy for the art of questioning. I'm feeling happy about that. But we're still talking about fire for another 8 minutes. So do you have any questions about fire or
Fire. Yeah, I like fire. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened right there.
Chris McMillan broke into your house.
Chris McMillan, yeah, he broke in. That's a good example. That's a good excuse right there.
Mhm.
I don't have any questions about fire right now. I'm about to fire off a blueprint follow-up email. That's what I've been doing. Clicking my keyboard. That's why I was on mute.
Very
Just
good.
listening.
Very good. Thank you for listening.
Autonomy Radio continues.
Mm-hmm.
So Owen Hunt, Bootsy Greenwood is his stage name or alter ego. He's in on this call. And so he worked with Leah Boone to create the Skillshare grid. Perhaps the photos could be integrated into that. And so a face to go with the name. And it's, perhaps.
Yeah, that's it is something that can be done in those grids. It's a little bit more complicated for whatever reason, because you can't just upload your photo directly to the grid because things are in different shapes, etc. I do have like a link for a website, which could also be used for social media. So we're there at least for now, and we could adapt in the future for sure. We hope to have a short tutorial of how to search in the grid, and basically use that. We're going to record that this coming Sunday. So I am, if it pleases everyone, going to start a whole server, I guess, for the Skillshare on Discord. And then that way we can pin that to the top and people can see. Because I've posted it a couple of times and I'm not trying to
At the beginning of the call, Michael did a little bit of an announcement for tomorrow's leadership and ethics interview that you're having with him.
Cool. I'm really excited about that. Thank you, Michael. I'm looking forward to it.
So maybe we can learn more about that there. The only challenge with that is that the pictures, for them to be face reading, for you to track the changes that your face is making, it has to be like a straight on picture, right? Like this, right? And then and it has to be like really straight on. And then we cut it and we put two halves together and two halves together. And that's when you can actually see the differences, because your brain will fill in the differences and won't register them. Like the fact that this eye is bigger and this eye is smaller on me, right? You guys don't know that until I'm like, look, this eye is bigger. Look, this ear is bigger. You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh, wow, it is. But we're trained not to do it. So that's why when we put the two halves together, two of the same half, you can see the whole picture of that aspect. Because how the right side is crisscrossed in the brain and the left side is crisscrossed in the brain. So it shows the right brain function on the left side and the left brain function on the right side. And it reflects that in like your thoughts and your ideas are reflected in your face. And right is masculine and left is feminine. And right is analytical and left is feeling.
So you were saying how the people will automatically fill in one side of the face for the other and sort of make it look more symmetrical. And
In
I've
your brain will compensate for that, for stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like a built-in heuristic or something. And then how I've also heard that people view symmetry as like one of the most highest signs of beauty. So your brain is essentially making other people more beautiful all the time. And
Yes.
then when you're on alcohol, your brain relies more on mental heuristics because it doesn't have as much ability to do things consciously anymore. So that kind of explains the beer goggles thing in a way too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was going to say something, but it escapes me now. So. Okay, we got two minutes left. Any last pressing questions? Anybody goes a weird rash they want to talk about on live TV? No? What a surprise. I thought Lisa Arbacheski joined us just so that she could ask a question, but turns out no. She's just probably doing laundry and had to leave the room.
Lucas and I are building a Christmas tree,
Cool.
a little miniature Christmas tree. We were just listening in because Daddy was, so we thought we'd listen in too.
Nice. You guys are cool. Thank you for being here. So yeah, I think that, unless somebody else has a question for this evening, we can adjourn and we can go to Adam's Essence of Fire. What was it called? I forgot already. Creation of Fire or something.
It's going to be great. I think he gave us a preview in the pit earlier today. And I think it's going to be a very creative way to learn, because he's really kind of highlight a couple different things about fire. And
You want to tell everybody what the pit is, though?
The
Maybe
pit,
Dawn
I
doesn't
guess,
know.
is the men's group that's on after the women's group.
It's a men's sewing circle. No, it's a men's. The pit is where the orcs fight for independence.
Yeah, it's like a fight club.
Yeah. So every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. at 10 a.m. Eastern, the ladies get together till noon, and then the men get together at noon till 2. Is that what it is? I think that's.
I guess. I think we just went 1 hour.
It's because you guys don't talk as much as the women do. Welcome to Autonomy. Autonomy Radio. Okay. I think that concludes this show. We'll be back next Tuesday talking about something else. If you guys have any suggestions or requests as to what we should be talking about, do let me know. Otherwise, we will see you in Adam's Fire class. Bye.
Thank you, Agnieszka. It was fascinating. Learned a lot.
Nice.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Good to
Thank you,
good to see you
Agnieszka.
guys. Thank you.